A physician examines a patient, makes a clinical decision, and orders a medically necessary MRI. It is a straightforward handoff from doctor to staff. We often assume this clinical consensus means the patient will simply get their scan. But between the doctor's order and the actual procedure lies a dense administrative wall known as imaging coordination. Before any appointment goes on the calendar, clinic staff must verify coverage and negotiate payer-specific prior authorizations. Nationwide, the administrative friction tied to prior authorizations drains $1.3 billion every year. For mid-sized specialty groups and outpatient clinics, this specific workflow consumes a massive share of their operational bandwidth. What begins as a pure clinical decision instantly becomes an unpredictable administrative maze, pulling staff away from patient care and causing revenue leakage. On the surface, imaging coordination looks like calendar management. In reality, it requires deep technical knowledge of CPT coding, payer rules, and escalation protocols. This animated flowchart maps the actual clinical process. It starts simply by receiving the order and verifying active coverage, but quickly splinters into dozens of complex pathways, depending on whether a specific payer mandates prior authorization. Navigating those pathways means gathering specific clinical documentation to prove strict medical necessity for each individual case. Staff then submit these requests through various payer portals and begin the manual process of tracking statuses, repeatedly following up when insurers go silent. If an authorization is denied, the loop resets to prepare clinical appeals. Only after clearing these hurdles can the practice finally schedule the appointment and confirm patient prep requirements. That is 10 distinct steps for a single imaging order. Busy specialty practices execute this entire sequence dozens of times every day. Treating this complex clinical workflow as a basic front desk task creates a severe bottleneck in practice throughput and leads to constant errors. This chart plots lagging reimbursement rates against the rising cost of administration. Over the last 5 years, practice spending on prior authorization staffing has spiked 43%. Physicians and their teams now lose approximately 13 hours every single week, exclusively to authorization paperwork and payer phone calls. Hiring a dedicated in-house specialist begins with a base salary. Once you factor in benefits, payroll taxes, equipment, and training, the true, fully loaded cost lands at $60,800 per year for a single full-time employee. The relentless administrative pressure burns through these hires quickly. Clinical support staff face a devastating 33% annual turnover rate. Every departure triggers hidden costs, weeks of lost productivity during onboarding, and significant operational gaps while the position sits vacant. Relying on expensive, high-turnover local staff to manage an expanding administrative burden creates a mathematical flaw in the business strategy. This grid represents outpatient imaging claims. Overwhelmed staff lead directly to processing errors, driving a staggering 28% denial rate for advanced radiology services. Zooming in on just a single denied claim, the rework alone cost the practice an average of $118. The primary driver behind these costly denials is simple: missing or delayed prior authorizations. The damage extends straight to the clinical side. 93% of physicians report that this process causes direct delays in patient care. Ultimately, 82% of patients abandon their treatment plans entirely after hitting these authorization barriers. Inefficient imaging coordination compounds operational overhead with clinical risk, resulting in misdiagnoses, driving patient attrition, and systemic revenue leakage. To solve this, optimizing practices are extracting the entire authorization workflow out of their physical buildings. They partner with organizations like Staffingly to leverage dedicated offshore specialists who focus 100% of their time on imaging coordination. These offshore teams do not require new software. They integrate natively, working directly inside the practice's existing electronic health record system. The infrastructure meets rigorous compliance standards, holding SOC 2 Type 2, ISO 27001, and HITRUST certifications. All protected health information remains entirely within the practice's EHR, accessed only via encrypted VPNs with zero local data storage. Offloading this administrative weight to highly secure hubs allows local clinical staff to return their focus to direct patient care. Incoming imaging requests are automatically sorted by an ADI Smart Assignment Triage system. Tasks route dynamically based on specialist expertise and workload, preventing bottlenecks. Real-time monitoring tracks every submission against service-level agreements,
instantly flagging at-risk deadlines. Predictive trend analysis scans the imaging data to identify payer patterns, signaling likely denials before the portal submission even occurs. For payer and patient phone calls, AI voice neutralization technology ensures every interaction sounds natural and professional. Layering smart automation over dedicated human judgment eliminates the constant tracking errors and capacity bottlenecks that cripple traditional in-house teams. This chart compares the $60,800 fully loaded cost of an in-house hire against the $21,600 cost of a dedicated Staffingly specialist. The delta represents an annual savings of $39,200. Adopting this model delivers a 64% cost reduction per position. Practices also gain a built-in support structure, including a team leader, a process manager for quality control, and a dedicated customer success manager. Implementation is rapid. Following an initial onboarding discovery process, practices typically go live within a 48 to 72-hour window. The adoption path is structured for low risk, offering a 2-week pilot program with no long-term contract constraints. Standardizing imaging coordination through specialized AI-layered outsourcing creates the operational efficiency required to maintain outpatient profitability in a high-denial environment.